The Golden Boy, as I'm sure most of you already know, is an award given to a young player who's deemed to have been the most impressive in European football over a 12-month span. Founded by Italian newspaper Tutto Sport in 2003, judges can only consider players under the age of 21, and the winner is now selected by journalists from right across Europe, with some of the most prominent newspapers in France, Germany, the UK and many other countries all having their say on who comes out on top. Since its establishment in 2003, there have been 17 different recipients of the award, from 9 different countries and 17 different clubs. The reason there have been as many clubs represented as awards issued is because 6 of the winners played for more than one club during the year in which they were named as Europe's Golden Boy, not because no club has ever had multiple winners. Of the 17 winners, only 2 have now retired, and perhaps somewhat unsurprisingly, one of them is the first recipient from back in 2003, meanwhile the other is the winner from 2008. In terms of ranking the players, I've tried to use a combination of the player's talent, peak, overall career and achievements, but it also requires a certain amount of foresight in respect to some players. Whilst the early Golden Boy Award winners are now past their best, the most recent ones are obviously just getting going and are therefore unlikely to have amassed as many trophies or even reached their peaks yet, so that too has to be taken into consideration. Here is how I would rank, and I repeat, just how I would rank, each Golden Boy Award winner from worst to best. Anderson. Much like if I were ranking Ballon d'Or or World Cup Golden Boot winners, the calibre of player is so high that even the so-called worst players will always have been huge talents. In the case of this video, we're talking only about players who were at one time deemed to have been the best young player in all of Europe, so there are absolutely no duds. That is certainly the case with Anderson, who in his first season at Manchester United, the 2007-08 campaign, aged only 19, made 38 appearances in a team that won a Premier League and Champions League double. You don't do that without being seriously gifted, and particularly in his early years, Anderson was a dynamic and explosive midfield all-rounder who Alex Ferguson could trust even in his teens. Unfortunately, that first season, at 19, was probably Anderson's best at Old Trafford. In 2010, Anderson had a fairly high-profile fallout with Sir Alex, but it was when the Scot retired that Anderson's problems really began. He struggled to find any kind of form or fitness from 2013 onwards, going on to taste relegation from Brazil's top flight while still in his 20s, followed by 2 seasons in Turkey's second tier. Anderson retired in 2019, aged only 31, and now serves as Adana Demirspor's assistant manager, and unfortunately, he has to get us started. Renato Sanchez. There are actually a fair few comparisons one could draw between Anderson and Renato Sanchez, both in terms of their emergence, their struggles, and their styles of play. As I said, the recent winners are the hardest to judge, and how Renato Sanchez will perform over the next, say, 7 to 10 years is subject to a large number of variables. I happen to think Sanchez may well still tap into his enormous potential at Lille and become the player everyone thought he would become at Bayern Munich, but as always, there are no guarantees. As things stand, based on what we've seen since he won the award in 2016 and the precariousness surrounding predicting his future, Sanchez has to settle for 16th. Somehow I don't think he'll be getting relegated while still in his 20s like Anderson did, but I can't bet that he'll be winning Ballon d'Ors either. Mario Balotelli. Mario Balotelli is one of those players who had 2 clubs in the year in which he won the Golden Boy Award, namely Inter Milan and Manchester City. He hit double figures in both his last season in Italy and in his first season in England, which was enough to win him the award and see off fellow nominees like Eden Hazard and Toni Kroos. Unlike those two, Balotelli's career hasn't been a straightforward journey to the top of his profession. Notoriously unprofessional, Balotelli functioned under Roberto Mancini, but was all at sea once his compatra was sacked. Ever since, his form has been patchier than the grass in my back garden, enjoying a good season at AC Milan, followed by a terrible one at Liverpool, then a career renaissance in France, before a difficult return to his hometown of Brescia. That means Balotelli is a free agent once again, at the age of only 29, and I think he can only come in at 15th. João Felix. The 4 most recent recipients of the Golden Boy Award, and particularly the most recent 2, are by far the most difficult to rank, since their careers have only just got off the ground. João Felix is the most recent Golden Boy, having won the award in 2019, and he doesn't turn 21 until next month. Felix enjoyed a rather special breakout campaign at Benfica, scoring 20 goals in all competitions, prompting Atletico Madrid to meet his €120 million release clause once all add-ons were taken into account. That makes Felix the 4th most expensive footballer and the single most expensive teenage footballer of all time, but he struggled to really get going in his first season in Madrid. Felix is someone who likes to drop off, get on the ball and make things happen, and in a very counter-attacking Atletico side, that can be difficult at times. I still think Felix can become a huge success, although perhaps it will be outside of the Spanish capital, and right now, I had to settle with 14th. Anthony Martial. I'll just remind you all, since 13th may seem low, that this video is dealing solely with very talented footballers, and with that out of the way, we come to Anthony Martial. Monaco had 2 Golden Boy winners in the space of just 2 years, and the first of them was Martial. He won the Golden Boy Award in 2015, the same year in which he joined Manchester United for a world record fee for a teenager, the same record that Joao Felix now holds. Martial had a brilliant first season at Old Trafford despite some initial doubts regarding the fee involved, becoming the club's top scorer with 17 goals. That remained Martial's best season up until last season when he scored 23 goals, predominantly playing through the middle under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I really like Martial, and he's still only 24, but it stands true that he hasn't kicked on as some may have hoped following that first season in the Premier League for whatever reason. He has only scored 1 goal for France at senior level, and I think 13th is reasonable, albeit I wouldn't bet against him rising up a few places over the next few years if he can really start to find his feet. Matheus Delitt. It's becoming clear to me that I'm giving a little too much time to each inclusion here and running the risk of making this video far too long, so forgive me if I'm a little more terse from here on in. Matheus Delitt was the 2018 Golden Boy following a sensational year at Ajax, and the following year he made a big money move to Juventus. As has been well documented, Delitt had 1 or 2 difficulties during his first season in Serie A, but that can be forgiven for a young player adjusting to a new club, country, language and culture. I don't doubt Delitt's talents, and I think he'll come good in Turin over the next season or 2. Alexander Pato. A difficult player to rank, Alexander Pato's peak was impressive, it's just a shame that it came so early on. Indeed, it was in 2009, the year Pato was named as Europe's Golden Boy, that he played his best football. Frighteningly quick, his goal against Barcelona in the Champions League will always live long in the memory, and in total he scored 18 goals that season, aged only 19. His first injury struck the following season, and in truth, they have plagued him ever since. By 23, Pato was back playing in Brazil, and 4 years on, he headed to China. Now a free agent, aged 31, Pato was released by Sao Paulo following 4 goals in 13 games last season. Mario Gerza. We enter our top 10 with one of the most gifted and unfortunate Golden Boy Award winners of all time. Without injuries and health problems, I wouldn't put it past Mario Gerza having made the top 3 of this list, and perhaps even the top 2. He had been nominated for the Golden Boy Award in 2010, missing out to Mario Balotelli, but there would be no near misses in 2011. Gerza was absolutely sublime for Borussia Dortmund first time round, particularly in his final season, and he had future Ballon d'Or winner written all over him. Gerza has gone on to become a 5-time Bundesliga champion and to score the winning goal in a World Cup final, which are both phenomenal achievements, but sadly injury and health struggles have really taken their toll on the 28-year-old, who recently joined PSV in the Eredivisie on a free transfer. Rafael van der Vaart. I absolutely loved watching Rafael van der Vaart at his best. The Dutchman was blessed with all the talent in the world, and he turned the sport into an art form at times, but based upon all the criteria that I laid out in the introduction, I still can't justify putting him any higher than 9th place. The very first Golden Boy back in 2003, Van der Vaart earned that accolade following an extraordinary season at Ajax, in which he scored 22 goals from midfield. Another 20-plus goal season at Hamburg some years on prompted a move to Real Madrid, before Van der Vaart blessed English football with 2 seasons of unadulterated joy at White Hart Lane. Van der Vaart's trophy haul is modest, and he tailed off rather dramatically in his 30s, but the 37-year-old retired Dutchman turned darts player's talents were anything but modest, and they won't be forgotten in a hurry. Isco. Isco and Rafael van der Vaart are both Golden Boy award-winning attacking midfielders who have played for Real Madrid, and there are a fair few comparisons one could draw between them. Isco is hugely talented, and he's someone who I really thought would kick on during the post-Ronaldo era at Madrid, but so far, he hasn't. A Golden Boy winner with Malaga in 2012, Isco is a man with magic in his boots, but at 28, you have to start wondering if we've already seen the best of the Spaniard. Even if we have, we were treated to some vintage performances, and it's worth remembering that he has played over 300 games in a Real team that has won the Champions League 4 times and the La Liga title once during his time at the Bernabeu. Paul Pogba. How you weigh up Isco's 4 Champions Leagues and 1 league title versus Paul Pogba's 4 league titles and a World Cup, well, it doesn't really matter, because that's not the only criteria, and I think Paul Pogba deserves to come in 1 place ahead of the Spaniard for a number of reasons. A remarkably complete footballer who can combine athleticism and creativity to devastating effect when he's at his best, Pogba is a 6'3" central midfielder with the skill and technique of a diminutive wide man or number 10. He ought to be considered one of the outstanding midfielders of a generation, but his return to Manchester United has just been a bit of a mixed bag, regardless of whether you're his biggest fan or his biggest critic. So he takes 7th. Raheem Sterling. I know what some of you will be thinking. Raheem Sterling isn't better than Paul Pogba. Well, that's up for debate. They're 2 totally different types of players. But even if I were to concede that Pogba was the more talented, Sterling still deserves to finish ahead of him when all of the criteria are taken into account. Sterling is 2 years younger than Pogba, and he won the Golden Boy Award 1 year later, in 2014. But whilst Pogba has at his best stagnated in Manchester, Raheem Sterling has just got better and better. Such an incisive, dangerous and intelligent wide man, this will soon become the 8th consecutive season in which Sterling has hit double figures for goals, which is ludicrous coming from a 25-year-old. What's more, his tallies over the last 3 seasons read 23, 25 and then 31 goals. If he went on following a similar pattern, he'd be hitting 50 goals a season before long. Whilst that seems unlikely, Sterling's importance to a brilliant Man City side is unarguable, and he more than merits a spot in 6th as far as I'm concerned. Kylian Mbappe. Whilst the recent winners are the hardest to rank, I feel fairly confident in predicting a long career at the top for Kylian Mbappe, unless he ruins his cruciate ligaments, becomes addicted to crystal meth, or suffers some equally devastating life event. The best teenage footballer for maybe a decade or more, Mbappe flew out of the traps at Monaco, and there was no other serious candidate to be named as the 2017 Golden Boy, despite the rise of Gianluigi Donnarumma. Mbappe is lightning quick, direct, and good on the ball. He's among the most frightening prospects a defender, particularly one playing with a high line, is ever likely to face. He also scores a ridiculous number of goals. Since signing for PSG on a permanent basis, Mbappe has scored 55 goals in just 53 league games, and one dreads to think how much he'll end up costing Real Madrid or Barcelona should he ever be sold. Mbappe is still only 21, he's been one of the best forwards on earth for 4 seasons now, and he should win a Ballon d'Or once Messi and Ronaldo stop being so ridiculous and or retire. By that stage, he might be worthy of 2nd or 3rd place in this video, with future uncertainty the only thing restricting him to 5th place for now. Cesc Fabregas. There have been few finer teenage footballers than Kylian Mbappe in the entire history of football, but 2 of the next 4 players in this video are perhaps among those who have. Cesc Fabregas played an outrageous number of games for Arsenal before he turned 20, and he was a very worthy winner of the Golden Boy Award back in 2006. Fabregas was also so talented as a youngster that Arsene Wenger thought he could let Patrick Vieira leave the club, and whilst far from a like-for-like replacement, Fabregas would prove to be just as good as Wenger thought. In his early 20s, Fabregas was already one of the most gifted and intelligent midfielders on earth, and he won Arsenal's Player of the Year award twice before turning 21. 12 years on, Fabregas has gone on to win a plethora of trophies at both Barcelona and Chelsea, and he ranks among the 7 highest assist providers since records began, which, it just occurred to me, could make for quite an interesting 7. Fabregas has tailed off a little in his early 30s, now playing for Monaco, which perhaps keeps him in 4th place, but he's still had a truly spectacular career. Sergio Aguero. Sergio Aguero won the Golden Boy Award 1 year after Cesc Fabregas, and he comes in 1 place ahead of the Spaniard in this video as well. Whilst Fabregas' powers did begin to wane in his early 30s, there are no such suggestions when it comes to Sergio Aguero. The Argentine scored 23 goals in 32 games last season, missing out on a 4th consecutive 30-plus goal campaign almost solely down to injuries. That has been the one great shame looking at Aguero's career, that he has so often suffered niggling injuries, preventing him from recording a really ridiculous Suarez or Lewandowski style 40-plus goal season. Nonetheless, what he has achieved is still remarkable. Following his breakout at Atletico Madrid, Aguero joined Man City, where over the last 9 seasons, he has become the club's all-time top scorer with 254 goals in 371 games. It's a staggering record, and the Argentine is without doubt one of the finest foreign forwards to have ever graced these shores. Wayne Rooney. To be honest, I don't think there's a great deal to split Cesc Fabregas, Sergio Aguero and Wayne Rooney, and even as I'm saying this, I'm doubting my ordering of them. On second thoughts, I'd probably put Aguero ahead of Rooney, but both have had magnificent careers in terms of their talent, peak, achievements and all the rest. Rooney burst onto the scene like a bolt of lightning at the age of 16 at Everton, and by 18, he was playing a starring role for England at a major tournament. On his Manchester United debut, he scored a hat-trick in the Champions League, and that rather set the tone of what was to come. In Rooney's only 2 seasons playing as a central striker, he scored 34 goals, but the Englishman was selfless enough to sacrifice individual accolades for the benefit of the team, spending some of his best years covering the hard yards and letting Ronaldo take a lot of the headlines. Rooney did suffer a fairly steep decline after he turned 30, but that can be fairly common among players who played so much football so young, and he was still brilliant in the MLS and is now a key man at Derby County. Lionel Messi. The answer to who is the best Golden Boy winner is as obvious as the answer to the question of who was the best Stoke City striker that was 6'7" tall in the 2011-12 season, who is the best manager that has managed both Nottingham Forest and Derby County, and who is the greatest singer-songwriter of the 20th century. The answers, of course, Peter Crouch, Brian Clough and Bob Dylan, roll off the tongue just as easily as the phrase Lionel Messi is the greatest footballer to have ever laced up a pair of boots. The winner of the 2005 Golden Boy Award, when one thinks of how many young players have won the award since him and fallen by the wayside, it really brings home the longevity of Messi and, of course, his longtime Ballon d'Or rival, Cristiano Ronaldo. There's not much I can say about Messi that I haven't already said on this channel, but he is the best dribbler and passer of the ball, as well as the best goal scorer that there has been at least in my lifetime, and almost certainly beyond. So Messi takes top spot, just as he always does, unless it was a list of players with the most international trophies or aerial ability. So that is it for today's video. Thank you all as ever for tuning in, hit the like button if you enjoyed today's video, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. Oh, and you can also follow me on Twitter or Instagram, where the username is just at HITC Sevens on both platforms.